Welcome to an episode of r/slash pettyrevenge, where we share stories of small victories over those who've wronged you. Kick back and enjoy these several stories we are about to share with you, and at the end, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now, on to the stories. And this story is posted by U/13 Petrichor, one way only. So at my local grocery store, due to COVID-19, they have put markings on the floor of most of the aisles that are about 6 feet apart that say, one way, don't pass, and point in the direction they want you to go. This is to reduce the chance of breathing in people's faces when you pass by and making shopping more orderly while maintaining social distancing. I have only gone shopping a couple times during the pandemic and always forget that the aisles are one way. One aisle that doesn't have this rule is the wine and beer aisle. Not sure why, but probably because it's fairly wide. The store recently reorganized, so when I went shopping, I ended up roaming up and down the aisle trying to find my preferred beer. While I was searching, I noticed a particular middle-aged white woman, you know the kind, absolutely stuffing her cart full of every single bottle of cupcake Sauvignon Blanc that was on the shelf. Every time I passed her, she would huff and puff and shove herself against the wall to be as far from me as possible in the most exaggerated way. When I noticed her doing that the third or fourth time and realized which wine she was hoarding, I decided to grab some because that's my mom's favorite wine. I approached where she was, and knowing she would soon leave the shelf empty, vaguely gestured toward the shelf she was at, signaling that I wanted to grab something. She stepped aside, and I grabbed 2 of the remaining 4 bottles at the very back of the shelf. When she saw me doing that, despite the fact that she had 8 bottles of the stuff in her cart already, she let out a loud ugh, and when I walked away, I heard her say, "Are you effing kidding me?" I was irritated, but decided to ignore and be understanding. Clearly, we had started our shopping at a similar time because I saw her in the next aisle I went to, and as I entered, she started shooing me in the other direction while saying, "One way, mister, one way only." At that point, I was sufficiently annoyed and decided to be a butt, so I skipped that aisle and started shopping in front of her while taking my sweet time. I heard her tapping her foot or sighing or muttering to herself plenty of times and felt satisfied, so I pulled off after exiting an aisle and let her go in front of me. She was definitely irritated at me still because in the next few aisles she was shopping very slowly and kept looking back in my direction. We got to the absurdly large selection of spices that took up half the length of an aisle and she headed straight for the end, probably not realizing that everything had been moved around. I was leisurely following behind, browsing for what I need when I heard her call back to me and ask if I could back up so she could look where I was for the parsley flakes. Obviously, I couldn't let this opportunity pass, so I looked at her with a smile so big she could see it even through my mask and said, "It's a one-way aisle, ma'am. One way only." She left the aisle saying something about kids and no respect, and I finished my shopping feeling satisfied with my pettiness. And this story is posted by U/MLLE-Michelle. We don't share alcohol in this house. This story takes place a few years back when I came home from university for Christmas holidays to visit my family. I was of legal drinking age at the time as well. To set the scene, it's just my mom and I having dinner at the beginning of our time off. She pours herself a glass of wine from an average bottle. I'm not a wine snob, but she is. I ask for a glass as well to go with dinner. She declines. Her exact words are, "We don't share alcohol in this house." Okay, not a problem. I didn't know this rule, and as I'm not a heavy drinker, I didn't see the issue with just having a glass out of her bottle. So I go off to the liquor store to grab myself a bottle to drink over the next few days, and lo and behold, I find her favorite bottle of wine. It's Burrowing Owls. The liquor store only has a case of it and limits the number of bottles you can buy. It's a rare find, and I lucked out. I buy the max, which is 2, and hit 1 while I bring the second inside. By now, it's evening and after dinner. My mom is in the living room finishing her wine. I open the bottle and bring both the bottle and the glass to the living room. My mom eyes up the bottle and asks for a glass. I look her dead in the eyes and say, "Sorry, Mom, we don't share alcohol in this house." She offers me 2 of her bottles for mine, says I won't know the difference, but I stand firm. We don't share alcohol in this house. So I force myself to finish the bottle in front of her while she sulks. Christmas morning, after my family has opened up all our gifts, I come out with the second bottle as a gift to my mom. She shared it with me that night. And this story is posted by u/Umbra Joke. You want to invade my space with your car while I wait for a tow truck? Hope you didn't have to rush off. This happened this afternoon. Today was balls hot, and between my car's AC not working and my body's habit of sweating puddles in anything over 70 degrees, my mood was already a bit thin. I was picking up some items from Home Depot and parked halfway in a quarter full parking lot, plenty of open spaces around. I haven't gone to the store much in the past few months, so while I was trying to remember the PPE order of operations, I absent-mindedly let my keys slip from my lap to the cup holder. I'm all kittied up and go get my stuff from the lockers and head back to the car. I start patting my pockets and feel that little ball of fear rolling around the pit of my stomach. I started walking faster, and as I get to my car, I see my keys in the cup holder. I'm standing there staring through the window while sweating buckets from a 3-minute walk, annoyed, but I contact roadside and get a truck dispatched quickly. As I'm leaning against the front of my car, a van comes down the lane on the opposite row and pulls into the spot right in front of my car. As the driver starts pulling closer to my legs, I shout, "Hold it," and put my hand out. She stops the van about 1.5 feet from me and looks pissy, like hitting me would have inconvenienced her plans for the day. I look around at the 9 other open spots all next to or behind her in the area and gesture towards them. She gestures at me and mouths, "Why?" I guess she was asking me why I'm just standing there, and despite it not being any of her darn business, say I'm locked out of my car. She sits in her car for 5 minutes, just adding to the heat around me while I duck around on my phone. Eventually she gets out, scowls at me, and goes inside. About 20 minutes after she went in, my tow truck shows up, but it's on the lane opposite me. I was feeling a bit petty, so I stopped the guy right behind the van, not thinking anything would come of it. Well, right as he goes to get the tools, van lady comes out of the store. She was lividly muttering to herself as she gets in her car and turns it on. I explain the basics of the situation, and he looks around at all the other still open spots in sheer confusion when a spit-eating grin comes around his face. He starts opening the door, taking a few extra minutes to make sure he does it right, and then has me sit in his air-conditioned cab while he fills out an order form because his phone was acting up. The dude took probably an extra 10 minutes to do his job while van lady is stewing in her annoyance. I appreciated the solidarity and threw him a few bucks for the service. He then made sure I got to leave first before rolling out. Dear tow truck guy, you rock. And this story is posted by u/Sandra_says. My roommate stopped paying me utilities, so this happened back in my college days. I moved in with a friend from university. She was nice enough, but she definitely had financial issues, which I didn't know about before moving in together. Our apartment complex had assigned separate lease agreements because I guess they had too many situations with one person not paying, which made sense. So I was never liable for her part of the rent. But the utilities had to go in someone's name, and I was the chosen one. Think electricity, cable, internet. Things got a bit rough for her, and she was having trouble paying me for half of the utilities, which I was okay with and just covered it. Until one day, I hear her talking to some friends on the phone about their fancy spring break trip to the Caribbean in Florida. WTF, man. You can't pay me, but you can afford to go on vacation and drive a new car? No bueno. I locked her out of the internet. I'm pretty good with computers and things, so I even kept her boyfriend's phone on the Wi-Fi, but locked her devices out of it and just played dumb. I even got a new router. She spent hours on the phone with the internet people. She got a new phone, which I allowed to work for a few days, then shut out again. Then comes the TV. Parental supervision is great. I knew all the shows she liked to watch and blacklisted them. I barely watched TV anyway, so I didn't care. At some point, I'm talking to the apartment people and I find out she isn't paying rent either. Again, WTF, not cool. Even though it's not my problem, I make it my problem. We had sub panels for electricity in each apartment, so I screw with her by randomly turning breakers on and off. She couldn't understand why her hairdryer would work one day and not the next. I just flick a breaker while she was showering. I convinced her that maybe her dryer was too strong for the electrical in the apartment and it was tripping it. So she bought a new fancy hairdryer. She was actually an idiot and bought one that had a higher electrical draw than the first. So I explained that to her and she bought a third one. I kept this crap up until the day we moved out. I never saw a cent from her, but man, it was worth it. These were 4 great stories, so we definitely thank you for listening, and do us a huge favor, comment, like, share, and definitely subscribe for sure, so you'll be able to get more of the reminders for new videos that come out in the future. Have yourselves an incredible day. This has been TNA Top Notch Audio.